Yo, this Urban Politics. We back for another week. Welcome. I hope everybody had a good week, good Halloween.
Yeah, trick or treat.
First thing first, I'm your boy, OG Touche.
This your boy, Tony Dalliere.
And, this week, we was talking about discussing politics. You know, we got big elections coming up.
Right.
And everybody's really much going bonkers. Only thing I can say, everybody's going ballistic. And right before we started, recorded, he was just, Tony, what you was saying about Oprah?
Oprah had a speech. She out there campaigning for
Oprah.
Oprah.
Oh, okay.
She out here campaigning for the black female governor candidate, of Georgia, which
Georgia.
They out there in Georgia wilding, they out there wilding, like trying to kick people off the roads and everything like that. So, but she put on there, vote or dishonor your ancestors who couldn't, and that's what she felt. That's what she said. What you think about that?
Why she got? I just thinking like, why she gotta be so serious? I mean,
is that serious, man?
It's serious, but you know what I'm saying. When you think about what our ancestors been through. At the time that they was going through the shit they was going through, wasn't nobody. It was freedom or death, pretty much. Like,
right.
Why? Pretty much what we have did was we conformed to the same system that really oppressed them, and pretty much fucked up. It really pretty much got us to the point where we are today. What happened to our ancestors? So I understand she's saying it's serious.
It's very serious.
It's serious.
Very serious.
It's serious for. You know what? I'm gonna keep it 100. This election is important for the rich. That's it.
I think it's deeper than that.
Well, if you figure like everybody that's campaigning, everybody that's what they got at stake,
right?
Nothing's going to change the inner city. No one campaign is headlining the violence in Chicago. No campaign is highlighting, any of the crucial elements of the urban community right now. Everybody's worried about the business aspect of what Trump's gonna do if he get the house and all that crap.
I think it's vital because of the checks and balances. Obviously, the Republican Party is complicit in allowing Trump to do whatever he wants to do, and obviously, given the Obama years, the way they basically obstructed every possible thing that he could possibly do and honor their ability to do checks and balances. I think this election is very important for that sake. And I agree with you from the standpoint that, candidates now don't talk about what's going on in the urban community. They don't talk about it from a specific standpoint. But if you think about overall, it's a lot at stake. For one, I think the healthcare, they dismantling it. If they could get Mitch McConnell already said if they can, that's the Republican majority leader. He already said if they could get the House, they wiping that out, And the thing about it is, it's unintended consequences that they're doing that people don't realize is that the healthcare law was put into place where it was going to be some rising costs, but it was going to level out over time. Now, since they tearing it apart, the working people that have insurance, our premiums are going ridiculously high. So you got healthcare. And then obviously with the Supreme Court, with that candidate, that wasn't a real investigation. Even the Trump Russia investigation, that wasn't
he's already in.
But you can impeach him.
What?
The House can impeach that Supreme Court justice.
Is that the critical element that's going on there?
I think that's very critical.
They're trying to make sure they get the House or the Senate so they can impeach.
They could. You know what? They're not saying it because they don't want to turn off. And this is the thing about. I feel like this is why I think like the point that you just made earlier is extremely valid from the standpoint that politicians don't talk about what really matters to the urban community. And I think it ties into what Oprah is saying. I think it's a disconnect, I would say, from what Oprah is saying from the standpoint that you can go into the inner city and say, if you don't vote, you're dishonoring your ancestors, right? And that is a true statement because people died for the ability to vote. And that's really the only way that you can hold these individuals accountable. But at the same token, though, what she's missing is none of these people that's running for office It's saying anything that I can relate to that matters to my day in and day out life.
And then what? So the thing is like when we first voted for the right to vote, it was a new thing because at that point we had no right to vote. So it's like we don't matter on a certain level. You know what I mean? You know how the country do you.
On a humanistic level.
Right. So now that we achieved that, I feel like we only was able to achieve that because they put in place another system, another way to ensure that it still don't matter. Because at the end of the day, if we had the right to vote since the 60s, if I'm not correct, it's about the 60s, 70s, right? We had the right to vote since the 60s. That's sad. I don't know the exact date.
I don't either.
All right.
We was born in 83. So I think that don't count. I think we get a pass on that. But shit was happening before we were born, so that's up in the air.
And then, so we got the right to vote. And it's like ever since we had the right to vote till now, I can only say that the urban community or the community that we're from, the community that's affected, that we're most involved in, has not really flourished at all through politics at all.
I don't know. I can honestly say I think we've come a long way, but obviously the number one thing is what the urban community have to realize, and we were talking about this off the air the other day where we were talking about minorities need to really build a coalition and band together because at the end of the day, the only way to promote change is to actually vote. So it's like if you're saying nothing is happening to me, I'm not going to vote. Well, guess what? Nothing is really not going to happen to you because you're not going to vote. Nothing is like we had a conversation where I believe on the last podcast. Check that out. It was out there about a week or two ago. It's on Urban Politicz, like it's on Facebook. But shout out. So and I damn near just lost my thought trying to plug this. So yeah, pretty much you were saying something that was extremely important about, you know what I'm saying?
Something.
There was something, and I just know it was important. But let me go back to the coalition. Maybe it'll come back. So, like with minorities, man, we have to form a coalition because that's the only way we could really promote change and hold these individuals accountable. But we have to be active, and I think that's what Oprah was really trying to hit. That like you had people at the end of the day, you know, they're banking on us sitting on the sidelines. That's what they're doing. Because think about it, the last election. It's 300 million people in the United States, right? Right. 120 million people voted. Like you're letting the minority, whichever way you want to dice it up, you're letting the minority.
Was that the number of people that was eligible to vote though?
Okay, so yeah, it's probably
so
like
people that was the age and
so people that was age. I would say I'm just guessing. I mean, I believe it's a educated guess. Obviously, I know shit like this, so just trust what I say. I believe it's probably like 200 million people that could have voted. You know,
out of 300 million,
out of 300 million, maybe.
Ooh, that's a lot.
Because I think it's like 360 million people in America. And I think only like 100. A lot of people stayed on the sidelines. Right. That's the point that I'm trying to prove. Like, never mind the numbers. The numbers.
No, a lot of people didn't vote.
A lot of people didn't vote. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about it is you can't complain if you don't get active. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this is the thing about politicians. Politicians pay attention to numbers. So if you know, they lose by a slim margin, right? You got some facts over there?
Yeah, I got some facts.
Let me get the facts.
Well, it's 325 million people in America.
Okay.
All right. So I'm still trying to find out how many of those are eligible to vote.
You damn near don't got no facts.
Okay, Google.
Okay. So while you doing that, I'm gonna just talk. Fuck it. Y'all can listen to me. So at the end of the day, like what Oprah is really saying is political activism. Like we have to get active. We have to get informed. And okay, yeah. So that's basically what you were saying. That was smart and great. Was that, you know, things are going on in the community. And we're not active, like you were saying, you know, about you know, they put up an amendment to, you know, turn 67th and Center to Wauwatosa. Right. And the people that's in this community is oblivious to what's going on. So change is happening, no idea. So if these things are happening and you're not paying attention and it's right in front of you, or even if you're not scratching the surface, digging, finding, understanding that these things do have a real effect on your life. Like for instance, with Scott Walker. People might say, you know, the other candidate for the Democratic side is not, you know, running on issues that matter to me, which obviously he's talking about education. Well, Scott Walker just with Foxconn, he gave them almost $4 billion of taxpayers' money, and I just read an article that they might not even build the site there.
Right. Tony
So
Evers,
like,
Democratic.
yeah, so and Tony Evers is running on
Democratic.
education and stuff because he's a superintendent. But Scott Walker, on the other hand, he's giving corporate give outs, and this is what people don't realize. This is I think I'm blaming the school system as well. And see, what people don't understand is politics is cynical. Okay, these individuals are sick, right? And the reason why I say that is because they know how to affect your life in so many different angles.
And then that's the whole point of the urban community, because to even be able to do that, you have to have some type of power, some type of buy-in, some type of statue, some type of backdoor. And nobody in our community has that leverage up there to make these ties and make people's lives so difficult. And what's so crazy is that when I be getting sent out to these small counties like Watertown and Oconomowoc, Delafield, all these this is mad farms. Like Wisconsin is more farms in Wisconsin probably than the size of Milwaukee County. Like, and that's plenty people. And every one of them have like, I support Scott Walker.
Right.
All through. It's all you see. All down, every driveway. And I definitely believe that even if we divide Milwaukee out of the people that will vote for Scott Walker or not, you still not coming up with a lot of percentage. So you got all those people and then a little bit more. That's why he keep winning. He's going to win again.
No, he might win again, but the thing about it is the reason why you think about them towns out there, bro. You talking about a few thousand, 10, 20,000 people. The reason why he wins is because people aren't active. It was a lot of lost votes. You know what I'm saying? So, and lost votes are people who don't go out there and vote. That's the reason why, like the last election, 40,000 people didn't vote. Trump won by like 20,000. You know what I'm saying? And even if them 40,000 people voted for Trump, at least we know. You know what I'm saying?
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, if it really was like Spygate type stuff that Trump won the election, then it doesn't matter how many people voted, right? And at the end of the day, ain't that somewhat the argument that people make when it comes to voting? It's like, you're never, even though you vote, you feel good, you got your sticker, you can't honestly 100% sleep at night and say, your vote is going to the right place and will make it there and will be counted. You know what I'm saying? Can't nobody say it. You know what I mean? Like, only confirmation you got is the sticker. Like, Ain't no confirmation no tracking number where you can track your vote and make sure it's going however they calculate it, like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? So it becomes a bigger thing. I think that's why I think voting becomes like, I think it's a debate that just, that people play the pickle. Like, it's a pickle thing. Like, if you keep standing there, and going back and forth, you would end up being stuck in a big old beta to politics for a very, very long time.
Yeah, but that's the thing about it is building coalitions. You know what I'm saying? Because like if that's your argument, say that's a person argument that's saying like my vote don't count, I might as well sit on a sideline. We don't realize how much power we possess as far as like moving the needle and inspiring other people. You know what I'm saying? Because if that was the case, then like you said, what Oprah was kind of alluding to, which is, if those individuals back then had the mentality of change is never going to happen, then we wouldn't be here.
But that's the thing. It's not even that mentality people have when it comes to voting, where it's like, I'm not going to use it because it don't matter. But it's that simple fact of, if I'm going to inspire somebody, me simply voting does not signify inspiration like me doing a courageous act in the community. Like, if I go to the community and I walk around, I hand out flyers, I actually talk to people, I'm giving free lunches, I'm actually helping, I would probably aspire more than I would if a motherfucker see me come out of the thing and say, I just voted with a sticker.
But
it doesn't necessarily mean I have to vote to be inspirational.
No, I think I'm glad that you said that, because that's kind of what I was getting to from the standpoint of like, we have to get involved regardless. Right. Like, we can't, as a community, bitch and cry about change and don't get active. Because you know what you said, two things. For one is when I said politics is cynical, and I said that, you know, these individuals know how to affect your life. What they're doing is banking on you not being active. That's why they're race baiting now. That's why they're trying to put in voter ID laws. That's why they're moving polling places. Think about education and education alone. I mean, I can't put a number on it, but obviously I damn near know like everything. So just trust everything that I'm saying right now. No, but like in school, in the urban communities, they aren't, you know, teaching these students and these kids to harness the power of voting like they do in the suburbs. And one thing that we have to realize is when we start talking about race, also these politicians are banking on ignorance. A lot of white people vote based on race. And that's the big difference. We don't vote at all because we feel like there's no change coming about it. They vote for crooks and vote, you know, for people to put in policies to affect their life adversely because of race.
Well, when you see how they living, it becomes clear. Like when you drive through those neighborhoods out there, you know what I mean? It's different, you know what I mean? And it can only be different from an economical point of how a city is operated. It can only be different based off how the ordinance and all that type of things is set up to ensure that the communities, everybody's living and follow the rules, all that, blah, 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 whatever. But what the resources that they're getting is at higher numbers than what the inner city is getting. You know what I mean? Right. And those communities, if they do know how to band together, when we say band together, we're talking about one community. When we say we all need to band together as far as Milwaukee County, that's the urban neighborhood of Milwaukee County. Then you have another 300 acres of Wisconsin. Right. You know, right. Green Bay, Marquette, all the way up there. You got.
But see, that's the thing. The population up there, like southeastern Wisconsin, it can move the needle. You know what I'm saying? And these other locations, you're talking about small towns. You know, you're talking about Warsaw, Portage. Yeah, these are like 10,000, 30,000. That's what I'm saying. Milwaukee is almost 1 million people strong.
Urban, about 600,000.
You know what I'm saying? So, and this is the thing, though. Once again, like, don't get it twisted. Accountability has to be placed on the other side as well. You know, as far as like the average Joe, you know, the white guy that's voting Republican because you were raised on these beliefs, or you identify and have a commonality with race, it's not helping you out. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I'm not a socialist, obviously, you know, because at the end of the day, you need the corporate sector. You need that private sector to really promote competition and things of that nature. And obviously, you know, taxes will be high if everything was just free, you know what I'm saying, so to speak, because nothing is really free. But, you know, it's like, it's the rich versus the poor, like at the end of the day. And that's the misconception that people have too. So you go out to these, I knew a white lady some years ago, and she grew up in, I want to say, New Berlin. Her dad was a plumber, right? And she said, dude, we weren't poor by the standards of the inner city, but we were poor. Like, my dad worked strictly to just get us out there to get in a good school, a public school. Like, so it wasn't like just because we're out there, you know, these people are suffering from debt too. You know what I'm saying? And if you go to the reddest states in the country, these people are on food stamps. You know what I'm saying? Like the reddest, most whitest states are on food stamps. And that's the thing that blows me, is like, why is that? Because they identify with their race.
No, there's never going to be a day though that is more rich people than poor people. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's never going to outright. Like, there's always going to be more rich people than there's poor people.
I mean, see, the thing about it is everybody don't even have the aspiration to be rich. You know what I'm saying? When we really start looking at society, right? You're always going to have people that's filthy rich. You're going to have people that's somewhat rich. You got the ultra rich, mega rich, so forth. You're going to have drug dealers. You're going to have alcoholics. You're going to have criminals. I mean, you're going to have every walk of life. But typically what they zone in from an economical standpoint is the middle class. And in today's age, the middle class is feeling the punch because the average person really just wants to have a home, healthcare, maybe put their kids through college. And they're content with that. Some retirement money put up. They'll go to work every day. Right. Everybody don't aspire to be rich. But it's a problem in this country when you making $25, $30 an hour and you got to get another part-time job.
Mm-hmm. But nobody aspires to be. There's a lot of people that don't aspire to be rich, but absolutely nobody wants to be poor. And just because I don't aspire to be rich does not necessarily mean I'm automatically at the end of the totem pole to be in line to be poor.
That's why I said the middle class.
Well, that's people,
poor is poor. Like some people, they don't aspire to be poor, but society. I mean, sometimes life just hits you.
Right. I don't think nobody thinks about
right. Nobody. But some people can place it where they at. Some people have no hope. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation.
Right.
Some people is like, look, I was dealt a rough hand, and it's like. I'm good. I'm just trying to get by.
And 9 times out of 10, though, this is the thing when people want to make the connections, and they can make the connections on a political level, but when it comes to a community level, they don't make the connection of how a person who's lost hope has been probably tortured and manhandled by the system that for so long, trying to get a job, good job, working, then quit, just cut the job one day, you just show up, job over. Like the things that really affect you emotionally, mentally. Right. You know what I mean? And those things never really seems to matter because at the end of the day, the representation of that company is fighting, and he has the money, the leeway to sway votes to go even bigger or to outsource. And then these people in these communities, if they can't afford to be in another community where these opportunities exist, it's just kind of like you just turn your back. So any politician that chooses to turn their back, it should be automatically like, you know what I mean, like. Hit list as far as not like
my man just say hit list.
Well, not like killing, but like we don't have we have nothing to gain from you, so we have nothing to give from you. Like you don't exist.
And see, that's I think that's what the power in the vote can do. And see, the thing about it is, it's not just voting. It's knowledge is power. You know what I'm saying? We have to understand the system in depth. We have to understand how the business influenced politicians. We have to understand the connection between judges and sentences. We have to understand the policies between police chief and policing. These things that we do have to understand, and we do need more vocal people out there informing individuals. And I think once again, politics are cynical. Think about this. If you were born in the Hamptons, right? Your dad's a millionaire, your mom's a millionaire. You're going to the best schools in the Hamptons, right? There's issues that they don't even think to bring up to you. I'm sure. Like they probably won't talk about the crime rate. They probably won't talk about certain things because it don't apply to you, right? So that's why I put the onus on the school system. And like that's really the barrier. And obviously at home, parents, emphasizing education to these young ladies and these young men. But I just don't see in a school system, they really teaching these young people, the youth, because change start with the youth, period. The youth, they create the wave. So if they don't have the knowledge, you know what I'm saying, then you're letting the older people who that population it shrinks, they move the needle. And it's crazy because even them, they don't vote for their own interests. But I think the school system educating these young individuals at an early age to understand that, like, look, you have to get active. So at the very least, you can make an informed decision. Like your decision might not coincide with mine. We could look at the world differently, but at least at least you're informed. You have individuals now that go to school 8 months out the year and you ask them about voting and it's like, I don't know. I don't care. It don't affect me. When it does, if this governor is finna take $800 million out of the school system, how that don't affect you?
And that's the thing. Like if it does You know what I mean? If it does affect you on a level, you should at least be informed about who you voting for, because those type of deals sometimes they be scare tactics. You know what I mean? Sometimes they say that just to try to get you to vote ignorant, like it's so immediate. Like, man, my whole thing is the way people. This is the way people are pressing you to vote. My whole thing is y'all need to be pressing people to make more informed decisions. Look up these candidates.
Right.
Don't just tell people vote or your ancestors are going to look upon you and say, "Thou heathen, you not for my loin."
Right.
It's let's be more sensible about what we're doing, because y'all know it's a lot of people out there that's kind of that don't really gather information like others. Let's just be honest. Some people just take stuff and run with it. Some people might really idolize Oprah Winfrey. I mean, let's just be honest. Oprah is well known. She has a lot of money. She carries a lot of influence with a lot of black women just because of her stature and what she does. So if I tell you, hey, go out there and vote, just vote because your life depends on it. And naturally, if I'm not really on politics, the first thing I'm going to do is just go with whoever you telling me to go with. So I can tell you, like, hey, vote her. Now, backdoor, let's just be real. Oprah, I hope she not, but we don't know if Oprah got some backdoor deal with the governor that she's pushing. We don't know that. Oprah's playing with big money, though. So at the end of the day, if she know that the votes that the black community, the votes that they cipher from the little people in these urban communities to push forward their big agendas, they don't never be part of the plan. They just tell you what to do. Right. And then people go out there and they do it. And so if Oprah was really serious about her answers being represented properly in the vote, we come from a background where logic meant a lot. We came from a background where common sense meant a lot for how we had to move from not knowing how to write, not knowing how to read, not knowing how to do anything to gaining a reason to vote. So what's the most logical next step? Hey, we have to make sure that we're voting for the right people that's going to push forward the right agendas in our communities, these small communities.
I think, and that's one thing too. Like, and that's the thing about information. When we address these issues, it's our responsibility to do our due diligence and our research and we look at these issues in depth before we feed them to you. And I absolutely agree with you that a lot of times individuals in every community, because that's one thing that we don't. That's one thing that we don't realize is there is a commonality, and I might end up making words up on this show. Just bear with me.
It's all good. Certified.
We can get it, So there's a commonality between all the races. You know what I'm saying? We think that this person, just because of their skin tone, walks a totally different life.
Well, let's not act like it doesn't matter, though. Let's not act like race, skin. It does matter. If she's a black woman, she's going to have a lot more black women on her team.
I'm not saying it from that standpoint. I'm saying it from the standpoint that a lot of when people say like vote for this person, and I think one thing that the media do is I find that to be insulting. Actually,
what
like if a person says, vote for this person, and then another person assumes that just because I'm black, I'm gonna listen to them and do what they say without doing my research. That to me is insulting. You know what I'm saying? Like every day, that's to me contributing to the stigma. Every black person don't just follow suit, because if that was the case, we'd all be voting. You know what I'm saying?
But that's my thing, though. That's part of the problem where people don't understand. Like, even though you wouldn't do that, you have the common sense not to do that, of course. But it is people out here who really don't have the common sense to go look up. That's my thing. Like, we can say, "Oh, I know I wouldn't do that." But at the end of the day, it's people out here that really don't have no common sense, that's not getting the proper resources, that's dealing with mental illnesses, bro. That's decisions are persuaded very easily, and they don't have no need. I mean, just look at a lot of the ignorance that's going on with these racial attacks that's going on in the community. It's come from people that just clearly don't have it all. Like, I'm just going to kill you because you're black. That just doesn't make any sense at all. You know what I mean? Like, I have to be out of it.
But see, I think what my thing is that, whenever we talk about people following suit, we don't necessarily talk about the other end. And that's what I meant by, just because we have different races, it might be white privilege is real. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of poor white people in America. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just because you're born white don't mean you're just you're born with a silver spoon. Like, it's drug addicts, it's trailer park, you know, people that, you know what I'm saying, are prostitutes and on what, like I said, if you really look at the numbers, white people depend on the government the most. That's telling.
And we don't even have a problem with the white people having anything, that they feel like is beneficial to them. It's just that when we get it on a lopsided rate, when y'all able to get something for government assistance with no problem, and we have to go through problems to get the same thing that you're getting, that be the issue.
And see, I think that's the big thing with the masses, with the general public, is that they don't understand that that's a ploy to divide you. Because at the end of the day, I don't like...
What's a ploy?
Meaning, like, more white people are on food stamps. And the reddest states, if you go to Alabama, if you go to Mississippi, Louisiana, if you go to these states, bro, where the majority of the population is white, they vote Republican. Yet Republicans assault the very programs that they vote for, right? And the reason why I say the ploy is whenever Republicans talk about it, they talk about it as if it's the minorities that's using the system. You know what I'm saying? And this is facts, bro, because they had I gotta find a clip over the next week so we can definitely maybe play it so you guys can hear it. But they had a white guy that was like, what do you think about, black people, I'm paraphrasing, on food stamps? And they like, yeah, that's terrible. They need to kick them off. And they were like, what you wanted? Well, I deserve it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that sense of entitlement. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about it is that guy that said, well, I deserve it, he doesn't realize that you don't matter either. They're using race because at the end of the day, you could strip, if a wealthy individual come into a poor neighborhood and say, vote for me, I want to get richer, I want to make y'all poorer. They know that won't fly.
Right.
So what they have to do, they have to take something that a person can relate to that you can't take away from them, and that's whiteness, that's race. You know what I'm saying? Because if you start talking about facts, and I think that's really the problem with all politicians. If you want to be a politician, just come out and say who you are. If you think that the world should be ran by the rich and the rich should get money, just say it. Why lie?
A lot of them are blatant like that, though. There's a lot of politicians out there that's really blatant, though.
It is. If you really listen to them,
yeah, that's the thing. You watch C-SPAN.
Yeah, they savages.
Right, watch them when they at them podium. I know probably when you scrolling through the channels.
And
you see them little white dudes up there with suits. You know what I mean? And a couple people sitting behind them.
This entitlement state,
right? And it's one. You got to just check that out for a minute and watch what they be talking
job
about.
Creators. We need to give job creators money because these people, or they say even more derogatory things than that. They'll say bums and so many words.
I just want, my thing is overall with the politician and with election time coming up, I know it's important. I don't want to say that anything we fought for is worth using. I always say if we fought for it and we got it, it's worth using. So I don't have anything, but I just don't want us to lose and forget about the real problem. What's always been a problem before we could have voted, after we voted, how we even got here, the whole nine. We can't forget about what's still going on today. Another black kid just got hung in St. Louis. Her mom is an activist in St. Louis. She part of the Black Lives Movement, and they found her son in the backyard hanging from a tree. This was a couple of days ago. And that ain't the last case. Was recently. Of course, you got all the video footage. So when y'all say vote and we talking about these politicians, a lot of these candidates, it's a few that look like us, but out of the majority, if you look at the overall seatings of how many people in politics and how many of them represent you, the numbers is there. It's not a lot of people that's from where you from.
Right.
So this one person who not even from where you from, never been there, probably don't even come down there to support any of the local businesses. You know what I mean? Is gathering 2,000 people from that district. He never even visited that district.
Right, because people are followers. And that's one thing I think to say, and I think kind of what you're alluding to as well is, you know, and it kind of plays into the whole Kanye situation. We ain't gonna get back into that. Obviously, Kanye said he's done with politics too on Twitter, talking about he felt used.
Kanye, call me, bro. I know.
Yeah, bro.
But that's what happened though. He got used.
You got used by who? Get more specific. You got used by Trump and yo.
Well, yeah. I want to say.
Like, come on, don't try to say like the other side. Just say I was stupid because they ain't jamming with you like that.
Right. I tell him,
but real talk, my dude. But I think, like, obviously, with the election year, you know, coming around, I feel like it's a lot of things that matter. Obviously, one thing, I mean, like I say, I'm progressive with my ideas. I think that in life, you evolve. You know, it's like a caterpillar to a butterfly. You know what I'm saying? You grow, you change, your vision, your views change, and that's to be embraced. I don't feel like when you say conservatism, that means you want things to, in essence, stay the same. And it's like, that's not how the human species works. So why should policy work the same way? Exactly. I think like we should get out there and at the very least, like OG Touche was saying, at the very least, if you're going to sit on the sideline, have a reason to sit on the sideline. If I'm going to tell you, if you're going to say, give me a reason to vote, go find a reason to sit on the sideline too. Take responsibility back. You know what I'm saying? Start asking questions. Start getting involved.
Asking questions. That's a good idea. And I want to see more independent candidates. You know what I'm saying? Like, start your own campaign. And let me see what you're talking about. I rather, you know what I mean? If it's somebody that I know experienced life on it, because there's a difference when you got money, and it's a difference, you know, your lifestyles are very different, man.
They build character.
Exactly. And it's one thing to grow up in a place where you have to worry about certain things before your mind is able to handle those things.
Right.
And it's one thing to grow up normal. Right. You know what I'm saying? And those things are the biggest difference. So somebody from our community that understand that we need a different type of help. You can't give us the same thing for what you give them out there.
What's so crazy, what you just said really resonated with me from the standpoint that I honestly think in America, our number one goal should be for every child to have the ability to just grow up normal.
That's it.
That's it. Like, just grow up normal, no matter what race, creed, gender, whatever the case may be. You just that's how you got a fair chance. Just grow up normal.
Bro, so now that you see that, right? It's like, if you don't understand how some of these adults that we talk now and we call ignorant and we urging to vote, they never got that. So it's difficult for them to make decisions. Even if we just tell them to go vote, if we explain to them, I can sit right here and have a conversation with you, let you know everything about this cat from top to bottom, and you'll still go out there and get to the poll and be like, what'd he say? I'll just vote Democrat. And you know what I mean? So that is just the urgency of how we change, because we know it's a loss of information, and you know it's a problem. We have to come from a different angle.
And see, I'm glad you said that, because at the end of the day, and I think that's what this show is for, and that's what feedback is for, and that's for us. You know, we're trying to create a platform to promote change, obviously, and discuss these issues. But politicians, you know, to the politicians, If you're an alderman in a certain district, you should be out there
every day.
Earn your vote. This is your job. If you're a congressman or congresswoman, you should be out there. You know what's your track record? And if you and this is the thing about, and it's crazy that you mentioned that, because it's like, even if I'm a Democrat or a Republican, you know, and I'm in the Congress, the House of Representatives, and I'm the minority party in power, a lot of bills that I promote, or this is just for show. Right. But you know what you can do? You could become a role model. Exactly. How come we put the pressure on LeBron James? Like Charles Barkley said, I am not a role model. Right. I am a professional athlete. And we scrutinize them, would get active, promote change because you had a talent. Right. You know, you got the platform. But what about the people that's actually getting paid? Right. Just imagine, I cannot recall a time that I was in school and an alderman or a local congressperson came to the school.
And I mean, during lunch or anything like that. And I like that right there is what we're missing. So that's like, how, if I don't have that, how can I trust you?
It's a disconnect.
It's a disconnect. I can't, if I don't see you with my people who I care about, when I walk down the street on Burleigh, when I go into these black-owned businesses and I see these people out here, I see the attention out to the street, the concrete all broken up. That's city stuff, like, you know.
Right.
Why is it taking so long for y'all to fix potholes down here? It'd be little things like that, and then they'll turn around and contribute that to the value of the property. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It just be little things that they do. You know, we just got to be mindful of what we're really doing with these politicians, man. These votes is dangerous. Like,
and it's crazy because one thing about it, like, don't get it twisted. There are stereotypes that's somewhat true. I mean, certain stereotypes, you can just look at a body of work and say, like, this is probably going to happen, right? And it doesn't have to be that extreme. It can will it back in from the standpoint that if I'm a politician in a district on Burleigh, you know what? The people in Burleigh, because I know they have to deal with drugs, crime, rape, poverty, why do they have to call about these streets? Why am I not getting these streets fixed? Why am I not on the police's butts to make sure they got patrols at least at certain times? So if a young girl is walking home, she not getting snatched up in a warehouse to get assaulted. And I say that because we always attribute, and this is the thing that really bothers me about society in general, and I think this kind of plays into the black girl on Dr. Phil. I'm pretty sure you guys heard it. She was clearly black, saying that she's white. This is how they mold us and brainwash us, and we do it to ourselves. Why do we attribute positive things to being white and negative things to being black? So if I talk proper, you talking white, no matter what race I'm in. You know, if I'm black and I'm talking proper, you talking white. But if a white person is talking urban, they talking black. If I'm acting ghetto, it's black. We attribute race with negative things. Right. So, like, I say that to say, when white people, because a lot of people are like, white people, they call and they get stuff done because they in that neighborhood where they're not worried about people getting shot and killed.
Exactly. Like, when you go out to these neighborhoods, though, you actually see sheriff county cars in the driveways. You see the city patrol, the city construction trucks in the driveways. So their community is close knit. They know each other because, they live in these areas where they're getting money is. But you go through any ghetto, any hood, or any lower level area.
Oh, any ghetto, any hood.
You're not going to see no cop car park. There's no
connection.
Right. So how can I trust you? Like, you come down here, you live good, you feel like,
and then you're assaulting me, you're abusing me, you're abusing your power and your authority at the same time. So and obviously, like I say, man, this is like one thing that I mentioned that really touches me is when we attribute positive things to being white, negative things to being black. Like, for instance, and we talked about this, and obviously we gonna finish it up, but we talked about the Russell Wilson situation with Sierra. When that was going on, one thing that I noticed, I was ashamed because of the vitriol that Russell Wilson got.
What you saying? When he was with the future son and all that?
And then it was just from the standpoint that, okay, for me, I'm pro love who you love. I'm not really into the one race thing, because one thing that I feel like, I don't knock somebody that's necessarily pro-black because of the plight of the black people in America. Right. So this is one thing that we have to realize. In life, everything is not always fair, especially if you always been winning. Okay. Right. So that's kind of like when people say, why is it not White History Month and it's Black and Hispanic History Month? Because the way this country is operated is based off of European culture. So every month is White History Month.
Designed that way.
And so,
that was designed that way.
Like I'm saying, it's just like, that's what really frustrates me, is when, the black community with Russell Wilson, he married a white woman before he got into the league. Right. He divorced a white woman. He divorced her, right? Yeah. Got with Sierra, black woman. She had a kid already. From what they say, they didn't have sex until they got married. I'm not a real religious person. I'm more spiritual, but that's, this is a Christian country. So got with her, got married, start hanging with her son, trying to be a father figure to her son. And I'm not saying Future was a bad dad, But it's a lot of things that kind of spiraled out of that. For one, it was the sexism and the womanizing and the gender roles that Future had multiple kids before he put a child in. Mamas. And Sierra was, she was great around his kids. That was fine.
Right.
But then when she has a man around her kids, she's a whore. But one thing I want to zone in, that's the whole gender role thing. And we're going to talk about that, obviously. But one thing I wanted to zone in was on Russell Wilson, because he didn't look like us. He's a buster. He's this, he's that. I'll fire him. T.I. even said he'd do something to him, actually. T.I. even said that.
Right.
And it was like...
For what, though?
Y'all contributing to the stereotype. And I'm not saying that Future is a bad dad. That's not my place. But what I'm saying is this woman moved on, and if she was showing some type of ill will towards Future, hold her accountable. You know what I'm saying? Because in our community too, one thing we have to realize too is a lot of times babies are pawns both ways.
Don't be petty though. If she being petty, then that's a different story. I mean,
holler at her.
I don't think Future ever really came out and had said something about Russ. Or was like, oh man,
I think he said one thing, but it was mostly everybody else.
Right, So we don't even know if it really was.
I think it was a reaction from the community in general.
That's the thing. When you have that type of influence, it's like the smallest things become so consumed. Like, you know what I mean? Like the only. Yeah, it's bad when politicians can't even get their own people to vote. Like, politician has to use other people to get votes. Like, they have to use people who are known, like basketball players, musicians. It's sad that a politician is not no more known. Like, you know what I mean? They might make a nice speech and get a little viral play of making a couple good points, but for the most part, they obsolete.
Real talk. So more than anything, man, like I said, man, that whole Future situation just brought me up because I feel like you don't have to be in the Black community. Let's hold ourselves accountable as well. Like, the odds are against us. We need to educate ourselves. We need to make informed decisions, whether we're on one accord or not. We can make a decision and say, hey, I have the information. We need to demand change. And I feel like, me personally, the only way to get it started is to show up at the polls. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, if you want to vote Republican, have reasons to do that. And that's the thing. When everybody, when they say go to the polls, they automatically assume Black people are going for the Democrats. Like, that's insulting to me.
But that's what I'm saying. Everything insulting, but it's reality though.
The reality is that we not showing up to the polls at all.
Well, if they did, it'd be all Democrats. Like, if you tell Black folks, like, even on Obama things, like, when a Black person told you they voted when Obama was president, you automatically knew they was going to vote.
You heard of Steve King in Iowa?
No.
He's a Republican. He's a white supremacist. Paul Ryan did not condemn him. He's still in the caucuses. So, like, that's the thing for me. It's like, first of all, we could talk about economic issues because I really zone in on politics. Like, you have elitism in this country, period.
Well, you got money, so that's elitism. Capitalism rules everything. So
exactly. So you're gonna have that.
Yeah. So politicians ain't nothing. No,
what party? No matter what party.
Exactly. So it's spinning out of control. That's when you ask yourself, when you say go to the polls, what are you really telling people to do?
Okay, so I'm glad you said that, because it's like, okay, and I don't want to sound like
you pro-poll, like you rather for people to vote before you rather for them to know.
I'd rather for them to know, but on the other hand, I want them to understand this. Okay. For one, because I actually had a conversation. Like, I really do study politics. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm really involved in it. I got a little depressed when Trump won, but it's challenging for me because of the state of politics, the tone, the racism, it's a lot of dirty stuff going on out here, right? Mm-hmm. But I had a guy when Obama got elected, and what people don't realize is Obama was not a liberal, progressive, far left wing person. Society pulled him in the middle. When they talk about the healthcare law, he actually got that from Mitt Romney. It was out of the Heritage Fund. It was a Republican law. That's what Republicans believe in government until they don't believe in government. So that's the thing with Obama. But I had a Black guy, and he was a Tea Party guy. He was a conspiracy theorist or whatever the case. Maybe you already know. So he was that guy, and we used to have these conversations. And I mean, obviously, he was a conspiracy theorist, so I should have probably just never had a conversation with him in the first place.
How long did that take? How long did that take?
Did I learn that he was a conspiracy theorist?
No, at that conversation,
we had multiple conversations actually, and I was like, "What the hell am I doing?" so like, because he was like, he's from Kenya. No. What happened was we were talking, and so he knew I was informed on politics, so he gave me like 7 DVDs, right? So I'm like, oh, this is pretty dope. This black dude, it's gonna be some other stuff. I popped the DVD in and it was like, Obama from Kenya, his father raped his mother.
Are you serious?
And this is the thing. This is the thing about Obama that tripped me out. And obviously, if you went to college, you know, in sociology, like, you aren't who you are who the world perceives you to be, right? But when they say Obama is the first black president, in essence, what they're really saying is the one drop theory is still relevant today. This man has a Irish mother that raised him, a white woman that raised him, white grandparents raised him. But we didn't look at him as the first biracial president. We looked at him as the first black president.
Right.
And slave owners, what they used to do was rape our women. And then think about this. Heritage and bloodline was always passed from the man. Right. But when slave owners raped the women, that's when they changed the game and said, no, you got one drop of nigga in you a nigga. So when they looked at Obama and they said he's the first African American president, in essence, what they were doing is reaffirming the one drop theory. But so the guy at my job, man, we had this debate, and he's married to a white woman. So obviously, I guess that played a role. But he's staunch Republican. So we're talking, and I'm hitting him with facts, man. I'm on his ass, man. Just facts. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So he just got to the point where he's like, I'm done talking to you. And I looked at him and I said, man, whether you like it or not, we on the same boat regardless.
Right. And
the reason why I said that is because it doesn't matter. If you really pay attention to politics, yes, you're going to have rich people on both parties that's all they want to do is promote their own well-being. They want to extend their legacy. They want to get us greed. Greed is, I mean, it's prevalent.
Right.
But you do have a party that believes in white supremacy.
Right.
And for that reason alone, I'm just disqualified for messing with you. You have a party that their platform is based on greed. Like when you look at the Republican Party's platform, look at it. Just if you really look at just look at their platform. You're talking about cut taxes for the wealthy. You're talking about white supremacy. You're talking about leave the elderly out on the streets. You're talking about cutting food stamps for people, for the needy and the poverty.
But this is the fabric that America was birthed on, though. That's America.
That may be true.
Childish Gambino. No, that is true. It's a fact, because if you look at the history of how everything played out, that's exactly how they've been getting it.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know why people are so surprised.
I'm not surprised.
Even people that be more so proclaim Republican or Democrat or push the envelope. If you don't take big business out of politicians, if you don't have enough money to play in those leagues, you're right. I mean, at some level, it doesn't matter.
That's the thing is that these decisions, we can't sit here and act like it's, to me, it's a false equivalency to some degree, because if you have a party overtly saying, I don't want you to have health care, I don't want you to have access to birth control, I don't want you to love who you want to love, I want, like, if you look at the Supreme Court, the past couple rulings, these are judges that got a R by their name that put in rulings. Like the last ruling that went through the Supreme Court was people can't sue their employers for getting time theft stolen from them. Right. So these are issues that matter to us, and they're promoted by a singular party. Right. You know what I'm saying? So that's why knowledge is power, people. I'm not saying vote for this.
When people say what matters to them is what, like healthcare and all that shit. Of course, that's what I'm be saying about that's basic necessities, though. Like we're fighting on basic necessity, and now one of the things that you said was like the gun violence in the neighborhoods, or
you know why, bro?
The investments,
why?
in black neighborhoods, or You know what I mean? That's what really matters to us as far as the urban community.
But see, that's the thing. I think that's the thing that, yes, these issues matter, but those issues do too.
Right.
Like I lost my mom to cancer.
Right. I lost my
You
dad
know
to
what I'm
cirrhosis.
saying?
Yeah.
So that issue does matter to me.
Right.
Violence is, when you look at violence, people don't realize the easiest things to get into in life is crime, sex, and drugs, right?
And it's the reason why?
Lack of education.
No.
Think about this.
It's you just can't take one element of life and say that's the whole shebang. Because it's other things that go into life than education. There's other resources that you need to promote a healthy lifestyle.
So running back. You got a single mother, right? Mm-hmm. Say she had a baby at 16. Right.
She had to drop out of school.
Right. That's be all end all right there almost.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That's the thing that people don't realize. When you really think about our lineage, the only thing that really promoted change was black intellectuals, education. So yes, all these other issues, people with mental illness, starvation, assaulting, it's crime, drugs, sex, all these different things do matter. But one thing that we have to realize is if we're going to say this thing matter to me, right? What are you going to change? What solutions are you going to put forward?
Right. So
what solutions are you going to advocate for?
Mm-hmm. But that's the thing, like instead of telling people to put more pressure on just voting, that's what we need to be roundtabling about. Like
that's dope.
You know what I mean?
Because that's what the Heritage Fund do. The Heritage Fund is a organization that. Right. I'm sorry for cutting you off. I'm gonna let you get your allotted time too. But the Heritage Fund is a organization that take so-called problems like healthcare, like this, like that. It's a think tank.
Right.
And what they do is they have political sway. And they put their solutions to politicians and tell them to enact them.
So, and what people fail to realize is that if you look at the course of history, not just to say the last President Trump, but just look at the last, let's say, 4 presidencies. You know what I mean? It's certain things that we've been fighting for that hasn't changed. It's a lot of nonprofits and advocacies out here that fight for veterans who can't even get fair jobs, fair health care, who fought in wars and came home and can't even get decent health care. It's a whole other ball game when you're talking about the greed and the levels that it go. And every politician has come in with those same things. Oh, we're going to get these healthcare. It's a game to them. You know what I mean? So when I don't necessarily say that. I don't want to necessarily make it seem like I'm just so anti-politician, because I believe in good people. So I believe that it's a politician out there that really want to do things the right way, do things and focus on the issues as right. But, the masses, or when you think of the rich, when you get into them several levels, I don't know if we can promote somebody with enough strength to outlast that money as they go up the ranks.
I think one thing that we have to realize is, once again, accountability is key. Like you said, you're an intellectual, so you're able to kind of sift through the weeds and peel back the layers and dissect the information, right? Everybody is not privy or aren't blessed with that ability. That's one thing that's real. But like when we deal with these politicians, you know what I'm saying? Like, we have to have ownership. So we can talk around a lot of different things. And I feel like, my father told me this, and it used to drive me crazy, man. It used to drive me crazy. Like, whenever I used to go through a situation with my daughter's mother, and I felt that, I restrained myself and I handled it, like an educated adult. Right. He'd always ask me, son, what could you have done differently? And I'm like,
you thought you did what you were supposed to do,
right. And I used to get pissed, man. He's like, man, dog, I'm tired of playing these mind games with you. Like, I need you to tell me, like, yo, you out of pocket, she a bum. That's what I wanted to hear. So, but then when it soaked into me and I started to really think back and dissect everything that I could have done differently, it was small things that I could have done differently to change the outcome of that particular conversation or incident. And basically what he was emphasizing is, at the end of the day, the only person that you can truly change, the only person that you can change right away is yourself. And you can change your own views. You can change your own actions. It's all about accountability. You know what I'm saying? So, and I say that to get to this, that obviously we need more intellectuals to get involved. And like I said, feel free to jump on the show, leave us comments, critique us, whatever, so we can get that constructive criticism.
Hey,
but
real quick though, that what he was saying, that was dope, because it's like when you even ask somebody like, what can you done differently? What you didn't want to do wasn't even an option.
Right.
But that probably, you know what I mean? Like if you ask yourself, that still was an option if you thought. So it goes even deeper, like, you know what I'm saying? To be sitting there like, what could you done differently? And you
what could I have done differently?
Like, I did everything right. No, but you X'd out everything that you didn't want to do.
Right, but you didn't necessarily think, how could you? Exactly, bro. That's crazy. So, and the reason why I say that is because, like, say we do have a politician that comes from where we come from, right? Right. And he get out there and he hand out, he know in this community it's 10,000 people, or say it's 5,000, 300 people in this particular neighborhood. And he go to every door and knock on every door. And he hand him a flyer. He introduced himself. He said, I'm having a round table at the church. I want y'all to come and tell me what's up with y'all. What's going on in your life? What matters to you, right? Okay. He run the event. He only get 30 people to show up. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Yes, he needs to go back and go back and go back, because this is his calling. It's not about political game. It's not about money. It's not about accolades and fame. This is his calling. Right. But at what point do we look at that community and say, well, stop fucking complaining? Right. Let's put the community first. Like, everybody asks themselves, what are you really doing in the community? Like, everybody that I know where we from, like, what are you doing for the community before you say anything else? I mean, it is quite simple though, if you think about it. Like, first of all, you can't complain if you're not really doing it for the community. That's one. So it's only two things that you can come to the conclusion of if somebody is complaining. Either they crazy, have some type of problem where they can't comprehend that they can't do that, or they just really just trying to be attention seekers and they just want to be an asshole and go against the grain. Either way, you have to be able to work around the motherfuckers, or you have to be able to, keep your composure. Exactly. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to you taking not only accountability for yourself, but people around you. Sometimes your family or you take accountability for yourself, but you might see somebody else doing something, or you might be a best friend. You're like, oh, come on, man. Nah, bro. You got to be able to speak up for others. And I think that's most important. That is. You see somebody getting bullied or anything like that, that's the time to speak up. Even if you put your life on the line, sometimes you just got to be like, this nigga laugh. And I said, put life on the line. Hey, you have to. Hey, I have to laugh. You gotta put your life on this nigga laugh. Hey, fuck what you said. Hey, everybody out there, yo, if you see somebody, you gotta put your life on the line. Listen, it's that serious. Don't come to me complaining about the community if you put your life on the line. It's crazy. That's how you get it. Oh shit! My man's dropped the suicide. Hey, you know what? If you put your life on the line. You know what? If you see somebody get bullied, you gotta be ready. You gotta be ready to put your life on. What you doing? Hey, stop that, dog. Hey, you got a gun? So what? Bah, fuck it, I died for the car. That's how y'all promote change. Fuck it. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be ready to put your life on the line. Oh shit. At what point? Hey, seriously, in all seriousness, man, that was when it came off his lips, I'm like, oh shit. No, but what I'm saying though is like, you gotta be willing to take things seriously though. You know what I mean? You gotta be willing to speak up. No matter the circumstances, no matter what, you have to be willing to use your voice. People use their voice for the wrong stuff. You can say what somebody doing wrong all the time, but it's hard for you to say what you're doing wrong. Like when you think about yourself, when you say, what am I doing wrong? Go to the things that you don't want to change and look in that area and see what you're doing wrong. And then try to converse that into anybody else you see have a problem. When you talk to other people. Well, check this out, yo. Like this was a great conversation. You know, we definitely, at the end of the day, I think one thing that we're really trying to emphasize today is if you vote, have a reason to vote. If you don't have a reason to vote, go find one. Promote change in your community first. If you don't vote, get active outside. You know, obviously, I'm a fine believer in voting. I think that's your right. Exercise it. That's the only way we can get certain people out of office. That sometimes you may have to look at it like two of the lesser evils, or whatever the case may be. I think sometimes we have false equivalencies out there that kind of muck up the system, and that's by design as well. But more than anything, seek knowledge in the urban community. If we really want change, we have to start within. We have to look within. And then once we address those issues, once we help to pull up each other, then we can form a coalition and get these politicians to answer to us, you know, from the rooter to the tutor, from the district attorney to the mayor.
Or we put our people in place.
And we put our people. And that's one thing. Like, we need to take, we definitely need to take that serious. Like, when you got a young man that's you know, into science or into these things, he's a scholar. Maybe the community need to coalesce and gather around him and tell him, like, look, man, you know, this is your calling. Go out there, be something, and bring it back. You know, get into politics. Let's do it. Let's make it happen, because, hey, these policies do matter. Regardless if you vote or not, people are controlling your destiny. And it's about time for you to take that back. So, man, it's your boy Tony Dalliere, man. It's Urban Politicz.
This your boy OG Touche. Hey, man, keep your head up, man. Most importantly, know what you're doing in life.
Big level to the shit. Yeah. Yeah. I be ready for the beat, so if you want it, let's go. Yeah. Yeah. I put it on my life, I murder all you rappers for sure. Yeah. Yeah. The mind of a whiz, the heart of a pro. It's like the harder it gets, the harder I go. I like the dumber the beat.